say we.
And we're gonna bring DeQuell in.
Let's bring DeQuell in the mix.
He's laughing and he's been chiming to get in here. So
Oh man,
You see him?
guys,
You see him in the
I
judge?
can listen to you guys. I can listen to you guys talk about this all day. I've been laughing my ass off. So much so I had to have a.
Go get it. Take a double. Take a double, bro. Take a double, bro.
You got a drink to talk about the Browns.
Bro, what's up with
Yeah.
you?
Oh man.
DeQuell, what's up with the dummy,
Or
bro?
talking about
what's
the
up with the
Browns
dummy,
drives you
bro?
to drink.
You see the dude in the dummy? What is this?
Yeah, I saw
Stop
that,
playing
man.
with me.
I mean, it looked like he had never done the gauntlet circuit ever in his life. And what are we in, week 5? You know what to expect, and somehow you can't get through. It took what, 3 seconds? That's embarrassing.
Hey,
And the
DeQuell.
fact that someone recorded it.
You immediately go to the inactive list that day. You're inactive.
At that point,
You're
after
inactive.
2 seconds, I would have faked a ankle
cramp.
injury or something.
My
'Cause
hamstring.
that's
Oh,
embarrassing.
my leg. My leg.
DeQuell, if you were on the Browns right now, and by the way, we could use you. We really need you at linebacker.
It's a lot
We
of
could
issues
use
there,
DeQuell
man.
on the field right now. I don't even mean prime DeQuell. I mean, you right now are probably better than anybody they got at linebacker. But
Yeah,
if you were playing, if you were still on the Browns, and you had seen Anthony Schwartz do that, what would you have said to him in the locker room? Like, would you have been busting his chops?
Or I'm side chatting with other guys. This is who we have to depend on? He can't get through a tackling circuit. He's a dummy. This isn't a real person. This is a gauntlet circuit you've done since high school. What are we doing here? Are we really that bad? But yeah, you know what? If I saw that, I couldn't talk to him because I wouldn't have anything nice to say to him.
No.
You know, I'm
Dummy had artificial
that's
intelligence.
embarrassing.
He is AI.
Absolutely embarrassing.
The tackling dummy is a better football player than Anthony Schwartz. I think that's what we've learned here.
DeQuell, let
So
me ask you
guys,
this.
okay, go ahead.
Let me get to this. Like, JOK. To
I was
me,
just about to say that.
when I see him,
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Take another shot.
he had no.
Yeah.
I mean, he just no keys, no gap, no. Like he takes false steps. I just don't know. I was thinking he was gonna be something else. Do they gotta move him to like a bandit position or a rover where he just kind of just run around and tackle people because assignment football is not gonna work with him that I see.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And right now, when I watch him on film, first and foremost, I think he's playing out of position for starters. They had him playing the Sam backer. He should never. He's too light. He doesn't play well with offensive linemen using his hands to play that Sam position. That's the first issue. The second issue is he's undisciplined. He has his fundamentals. He's hopping in place when the play has already developed, and he's relying too much on his speed. He's not being coached up on the small little detailed things, and that is going to, no matter how much talent you have, what type of physical ability you may have, if you play undisciplined, you're just going to get lost in the sauce, man. And right now, he's not showing any progression. And I had a lot of hopes for him going into this season. The first issue, I realized it when Anthony Walker got hurt. I'm thinking, okay, JOK will be primed for this role to finally take that next step in terms of being a communicator, in terms of, being that leader, stepping up to the challenge. And he wasn't. He's not a full-time starter. He comes off the field. So Jacob Phillips is the guy that stays on the field, which is the problem. But in terms of JOK, he's playing terrible. And for what I thought he was going to show this year, man, he's regressed a lot. And no wonder they had to go out and get Deion Jones, a guy off the street, or trade for a guy to come in that has some experience, that understands how to play assignment and fundamental football. He's all over the place, man. It's embarrassing to watch. It really is. I went back and watched the game and watched him solely. He's not reading his keys. He has bad eyes. He has bad footwork. He doesn't do anything good, in my opinion.
Okay, so DeQuell, you see, there's some personal skill sets that we think he has, right? We see that. What we thought. Is it because he's just not being developed over here? Because it has to be obvious. Anybody who coaches at any sport at any level, a guy that has talent that has to be coached up, because he getting worse every week.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. Let me tell you what the other teams are doing. And this is a basketball guy telling you. They see it on film. We going to him. He the weak link. Right. We're going to keep trying him because he going to give us a break here, right? And every time they go at him, I don't know.
I
So I
agree.
don't know if it's
It's
him.
definitely-
I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know what it is.
So what would you do
Listen,
with it?
I had a coach named Billy Davis. He was probably the smartest position coach I've ever played for, and he realized I was pretty good at dissecting plays and watching film and trying to picking up tendencies from the offense. But what he realized was my first step, I would drop step, and he was like, "Listen, that split
that's
second
the
is
wrong
going
way.
to either going to miss a play or you're going to make a really big play for us. And if you can work on these things, your career just continue to take off." And he drilled my ass every day, all day, the entire group. We had these shoots. Basically, these shoots were like they were chest high, and literally we would have to run 5 yards, 10 yards in these shoots just so I could stay low, so I'm fundamentally sound. I don't know what they're doing because a lot of there's not one linebacker that doesn't take a false step, that isn't just flawless in terms of just playing the linebacker to his core.
Footwork. Footwork
is everything from a linebacker standpoint. And if you don't have it, I don't care how fast and how strong you are, you're not gonna be able to make the plays that come to you when it presents itself.
Is he salvageable?
I think, listen, right, what he does do well, he can cover. And I think you have to put him in positions in nickel. You know what? If there's a tight end that could pose a threat to your linebackers, you need to match him up. He's not a blitzing guy. He doesn't do what you have to either blitz him, give him one responsibility, or he's covering a tight end or some slot receiver for that matter. But he doesn't play zone that well. You know what? He's average when it comes to zone coverage.
So you
but
telling me
man coverage and pressures, that's what he does well.
You telling me your star linebacker is a specialty guy now?
Yes, he's a specialty guy.
He's
right.
He's a one-dimensional specialty guy.
And I would even take him out of the linebacker position.
You
have to mix him up. I would much prefer to see him as a safety cleanup position as opposed to D-line and linebackers. You have to be gap conscious, and if one guy jumps out of gap in front of you, the linebacker has to be smart enough.
I saw it against Eckler.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, this is where I talk about creativity with coaching staffs, right? If the Browns were smart and creative, they would create a totally new defense.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be something you would see everywhere else, but you would have JOK playing like an outside bandit backer. You probably should stand Jadeveon Clowney up, and you don't have really good enough defensive tackles to be penetrators. I would tell them your job is to make sure that these dudes can't get to the next level, and I would make those secondary guys, the tacklers and Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney might rush ends where they rush, but they don't have the personnel for a 3-4, and that's or 4-3, excuse me, and that's why they're getting gashed.
DeQuell, and we all know, we all who have played know this, right? You have some coaches that they can only coach inferior players, right?
That is true.
Right? They do well when you got an inferior group of players, right?
Because they get the most out of them.
They get the most out of them.
Yeah.
You give them some talented players, they can't adjust their game to the talented players. They can only do this little thing here. And what I see here, because I'll use Loxley in Maryland as an example, he got lesser players, but he's getting the most out of his people over there.
No doubt.
Not that he's going to win no games, but he's getting the most out of his people.
Easy, man, easy.
Right. I said, but when I look at Stefanski and his group, right, we have all these supposedly talented people. We underusing Chubb.
Yep.
We're underusing Hunt. We lost on Amari Cooper. We lost on. They tell me about David Bell. Is a David Bell sighting?
I don't think that's all fair.
Here.
Chubb's like second in the league in carries.
You're missing my point.
He should be first.
My point is, you have a dog, right? And I don't care that what I want to do in this playbook says I'm going to spread it around 100 different times. Well, 100 different times not going to work.
But the Browns' problem is the defense, not the offense. The offense is playing well.
The problem here is you're missing my point again.
Yeah.
The problem is your thinking. You have to be able to adjust on the fly what G was just talking about, what DeQuell was just talking about. You have to be able to adjust to what the situation says, not what your book says. I like, okay, this is what I got to do to win here. and I got to use this dude and this dude and this dude and this dude here. He's not doing it. So now he's going to the sideline because I can't play him at linebacker. Maybe he's a safety guy.
And by the way, Myles Garrett don't even look like the same.
Oh my
player.
God.
No.
Well, he's still injured, I think. I think this car crash, listen, for him to come back when he did, I think he's having lingering effects of it. And I think he was probably in a position where he felt like, man, I got to help this unit out because they're not playing well. At least if I can be in the lineup, I can be somewhat serviceable, even if I'm not 100% healthy. But to your point, Brad, I think it's time to start sitting guys. You got to make some noise if you're Joe Woods and say, you know what, JOK, you're not helping this team. You need to go sit down. Or we'll see what happens when Deion Jones comes in, who's out of the rotation.
He's actually played all right.
You have to start making adjustments that way so you get the attention of the other guys. Denzel Ward, listen, I love Denzel Ward. I think we all do, but he's been playing like crap this year. Not only in the passing game, in fire zone coverage, he's letting coverages cross his face. It's just day one stuff that he's doing. But the other thing I've realized, they're putting him in running and tackling situations. 2 weeks in a row, down in the red zone.
Goal line.
He's to the nub side. Teams are making him play, run, and he's not. That's not his thing. That's not his thing. And if we see it, you think
Other
Bill
people see
Belichick
it.
doesn't see it?
Yeah, that's the fearful thing.
That play on the goal line, DeQuell, where you have free players. Denzel Ward is the outside force player.
Right.
Not only did he get caught inside, 3 other people got caught inside where one tight end sealed the whole corner as Eckler walks in the end zone. To me, that is middle school. That's middle school.
It is.
I've never seen a professional team like that. And you said something too, and maybe you can shed some light on this. See, sometimes as players, when your coach don't let you be who you are, right? When they keep telling you we're gonna play this defense and it's soft as peanut butter.
I just said that.
And you just, but it strips you of your ability and your will to want to go play. And what I see is a bunch of people that's on the field saying, we're in this weak defense.
This ain't happening,
he don't
right.
put us in a position to be aggressive. And you talked about that earlier this year, because I first time I ever met you, you came on here, I said I used to hate y'all's 3-4. I wanted the Steelers 3-4, not the Mangini 3-4.
Right.
That 3-4
Right.
is different. I hated it.
Yeah, no, listen, I think right now they have to be able to shake things up. So here's what's going on right now. If you're in that locker room, if we're talking about how poorly this defense has been playing, the coaches are harping it. They're harping it to every single snap, every single walkthrough, every practice. They're overcoaching right now. And it takes a veteran with experience to understand, listen, guys, just do your job. And the issues that's happening is once team starts to get rolling and let's say we get a 14-point lead and we give up a touchdown, now guys are looking next to each other like, oh, man, I got to be the one to make the play. And now what happens? You start jumping out of gap. You start playing undisciplined, and then it's a trickle effect. And, they have to get it fixed. They have to, because right now Jacoby Brissett is playing winning football. The offense is playing winning football. And if this team is going to be able to withstand, you got to go out and win this week. This schedule is picking up. And it's going to be, if this defense doesn't get corrected very soon, this thing could turn very fast. And when that happens, you're going to lose that locker. That defense, oh, my God. You're going to I call it checking gangster. Guys are going to be out there remixing calls, doing whatever the hell they want.
Remix.
And
going rogue.
It's going to get
Bernie
really
Kosar.
bad.
Take that.
Bernie was on yesterday. He told us his last play ever for the Browns, he drew up in the dirt.
Take that.
And it
Listen,
went for a
I've done
touchdown.
it before.
And it went for a
I've done
touchdown.
it before.
DeQuell,
I knew I would. Go ahead.
these
Go ahead.
guys have been going crazy, and they've been killing the Browns, deservedly so. I'm usually a lunatic when it comes to the Browns for the past 12 years, and I've been, I think, the voice of reason, trying to keep people calm. They're still only a
You
game
the
out
voice of
first.
reason?
I
You
know.
believe that?
I
I mean, it's
know.
impossible to believe. I've never been the voice of reason, but I have been the last 2 weeks.
What the
But
hell?
I'll tell you this, as calm and as positive as I've been the Browns, if I don't see Joe Woods change something up this week, and if they lose this game this week, I am going off on Monday like you have not seen in a while because there is no excuse. Their run defense, like, I get it. They don't have the best talent for a run defense, but there's no excuse to play this poorly. If they do it again this week and make no adjustment, no life, no energy, no aggressiveness.
It's been that way. It's been a preseason.
That's why we're going.
No, but the run game has been embarrassing defensively the last 2 weeks.
After the first half.
Yeah.
And
Right.
what the
Right, that's the
Chargers
last 2
did-
weeks.
Yes, but that's
Yeah.
why I said after the Falcons game, they found the Browns cheat code. And all San Diego or all the Chargers did was look at the second half of the Falcons game and said, guys, we can run on these as much as we
The reason
want.
I gave them a somewhat of a pass last week is because at least with the Chargers, you got to worry about their quarterback, and that's going to lead to struggles in the run game to some degree. Where this week, there's no worry about the quarterback. I mean, Bailey Zappi, give me a freaking break. Even if it's Mac Jones, they better show. And it's not just Joe Woods too. It's the players. Show some pride, some life.
The Falcons quarterback was Marcus Mariota.
I
They didn't have to
hear
worry
ya,
about him.
But that's one game. And then the Chargers, it's the second game, but they got a great quarterback. Third game, that's the end of it.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem as I see. You're 5 games into the season, a number of preseason games. You're regressing. You're not getting better, right? The players are starting not to buy into it. You start to see less hustle plays.
Yeah.
People hustle all the time.
That's it.
That's indicative in any sport that something is going sideways here, right? And the players know there are people out there that can't perform, right? So if they can see it, why your coaches can't see it? And DeQuell knows this. The only way you get people's attention is to lop somebody's head off, right? So if Denzel not getting it done, guess what?
Get him out
we
there.
lopping your head off.
There's another way
today.
you can get someone's attention is go out and trade for someone an hour after a terrible loss.
They did that.
and they did that. McNuggets is telling me right now in my ear, we can never show Brown's video. We can't show practice video, but McNuggets has just told me that we flew a drone over Berea to get to find out what the hell's going on over there.
This is high production stuff.
Do we have the video in?
Never underestimate me and what we can do.
I need you to analyze this video, DeQuell, and tell us what the hell's going on.
Oh my God.
Okay, now what the hell's going on here? Look at JOK. Now watch the ball carrier. What the hell's going on?
Is that the ball
what's
carrier?
happening here?
We got no. That's actually JOK. He's running circles on the practice field.
Oh, that makes sense.
Anthony Schwartz can't even break through these guys. Can you fix this?
There's a guy on his back right now. It looks like our defense in the black right here.
I love the caption
my
on the
God.
video. Struggle is real.
Look, 23 years of patiently waiting.
Hey man, he said that. I just did a video. If y'all want to watch it, you gotta check it out on the barbershop. And I so eloquently put it. I have footage of every single Browns coach since 2000, since '99.
Okay.
And if you run that footage of Kevin Stefanski in his post game, and you run that same footage of Mike Pettin, Pat Shurmur, Rod Chazinski, what's your boy, Freddie Kitchens,
Hugh
Jackson, it's all the same.
They are the same people.
It's all the same. And here's the I made.
What do you mean it's all the same? They're all making the same excuses, or they're all saying it's going to be fixed?
No, it's the reason why they don't never learn from other people's mistakes. They don't learn from their own mistakes. And when you go through and watch these cut-ups, I kind of compare it to pulling Excalibur out of a rock. People say, here you go with that analogy. Everybody has heard about the Cleveland Browns since the beginning of time. Everybody wants to know about the history, the helmets, Jim Brown. We are a flagship organization. Everybody wants to prophesy about getting the Browns back to who they are. So they go here, they come in having good intentions. But when they get here, all they care about is pulling the sword out of the rock. I want to be king. I want to be known as the guy who brought us forward. I want to be known as the person who got the Cleveland Browns organization back. But then they don't understand. It ain't about just getting them back. It's about how you go about doing it. And so they get here and start to go the opposite way. Instead of playing to what you got, it all becomes, well, how can I look the best? How can I look the best?
But again, and DeQuell, jump in here. I don't know. I think lumping Stefanski in with all those other coaches is unfair.
Why?
Because
Same penalties.
Well, I agree.
Same,
I agree with
Well,
Bill on
first
this.
of all, those coaches all lost 1 million games. They didn't come, and none of those guys had winning records.
Stefanski's
Kevin
still
Stefanski,
21 and
with
17.
bad quarterback play generally,
This is
outside of the final 2/3 of the 2020 season from Baker, basically bad quarterback play from subpar quarterbacks of Baker and Jacoby, has won more games than he's lost.
So hold on.
The offense is not the problem,
Hold on, hold on.
It's all about the defense.
Here's what y'all
Yeah.
missing. Kevin Stefanski is not the head coach of the offense. He's the head coach of the team.
Okay, you're right.
No, hold on. So if you think I'm right,
Yeah.
if your defense can't do anything right, he is responsible for the defense, and who's coaching it? If he can't get it done, he got to go.
Yes.
Special teams. If you can't get it done, I'm sorry.
I'd fire both those guys.
But my problem is Stefanski is operating as if he got all the time in the world. This is the best team, the most expensive team, and a team that has a window. He's operating like he's on a 3 to 5 year program. Ain't no such thing as a 3 to 5 year program. I operate on the sense urgency of today, nowness.
This is my problem. And here, Stefanski's not above catching the heat, smoke. He not, right? Let me tell you something.
Yeah, but there's a difference between catching smoke and comparing him to all these losing coaches.
No, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
When you come from a winning organization, the standard is here. It ain't here, right?
They don't have a winning organization.
No, the problem is that's
trying to
part of the
build
problem. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
The culture. It's led by the dude at the top. If the dude at the top is soft on it, the team gonna be soft on it. I'm gonna just tell you this. The stuff I see week in and week out, I'll speak for most Brown fans, it's irritating. Right? It doesn't change. Don't tell me how smart you are. It's about the culture you establish from the beginning. And the other thing you got to do as a professional coach, you have to hold people freaking accountable. I don't care. And the day you don't do that is the day you lose the ship.
DeQuell?
I'm a little bit more patient. I think it's unfair to lump Kevin Stefanski with everyone else, knowing everything that I understand he has the talent on the team, but he's winning with arguably a guy who no one expected to play this well. So Jacoby Brissett is playing winning football. The offense is playing winning football. I think we have to give him a little bit more time, right? Because right now he's trying to he has a groove. He developed a rhythm with the offense. Let's give it some time. Maybe he's as the weeks pile up. He's talking to Joe Woods. He's going to make the necessary. Whether it be a firing at the end of the season, whether it be someone else being promoted. You're going to have to shake things up at some point, either during the season or during the bye week or in the offseason, because right now this team is underachieving with the payroll they have on defense,
Right.
with the guys they have on paper. They're underachieving. Yes, I get it. But he fixed one problem. I'm a little bit more patient with him because he's proven he's had this team win football games. And under his tutelage while he's been there. So I'm a little bit more patient. I think it's a little bit unfair to lump him with everyone else.
Right.
I'm going to give him a little bit more time
Well,
to get it right.
here's my issue, DeQuell, and I'll just tell everybody this.
Mm-hmm.
My standard of winning is different.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on winning. I know what winning
Yeah.
looks like. This ain't winning.
Yeah.
This is just surviving.
No, but
That's all it is.
I'll jump in and
500
I'm more
football
with
is
DeQuell
surviving.
and
But nobody's-
Cole.
Yeah.
Brad,
Yeah.
to that point, I understand that we're all
right, in the long
furious.
term, yes.
But here's what I would say: we have seen the coaches that Jimmy Haslam has brought in here. We know what his track record is at hiring coaches. I think with Stefanski, he stepped into one. He got it right. Now, if you hire enough of them, the odds are eventually you're going to get it right. I do think Stefanski is the guy. I wish he would be more global than micro with the offense. I wish he would be the head coach who is heavily involved with the offensive philosophy and game planning, but not calling the plays.
But Jake, that's just the way all the young
know.
coaches do that. All of them.
They don't.
They do.
The vast majority of plays in the NFL are called by the offensive coordinators.
No,
It's been that way for
not
a while.
with young coaches.
It
But
is.
all the young coaches.
It is.
No, all the young coaches call their own plays.
No, they
all of
don't.
them.
They don't. Brad.
Can you name one that doesn't?
They don't. Can you name one that does?
Every young coach, Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley does not call all the plays for
Yes,
the
he
Chargers. No,
does.
he doesn't. And your guy in Cincinnati doesn't either.
Yes, he does.
The offensive coordinator's calling plays
No, he
there.
doesn't. Zach Taylor calls the plays.
I read last year at the end of the year that the
Yeah.
offensive coordinator was getting heat because they thought that some of the plays early in the first half weren't good. And he was taking the heat for that.
I never saw that. And Zach Taylor, as far as I know, calls all the plays.
help me, DeQuell. I don't know what percentage of offensive
Yeah.
coordinators are calling the plays in the NFL.
Yeah, I thought the majority of them were calling the plays, and the head coach could delegate between offense and defense.
and that's my point.
That to me is the recipe for success.
And that's the model that there's an offensive coordinator position for a reason.
The Browns have an offensive
And I do
coordinator.
like his offensive mind. What I would like to see Kevin Stefanski, clearly,
Yeah.
you're saying the problem isn't the offense. Well,
It's not.
That's because he's so heavily involved with it. If
Right,
he wasn't so
right.
heavily involved with the offense, he could be more involved with the defense and
Right.
start
You
helping.
think Zach
build-
Taylor is involved with the Bengals defense? No.
He's
Not
the
at
head
all.
coach. He damn well better be.
I don't think any of the young
Yeah,
coaches
he's
are.
not-
I don't think Andy Reid's that involved with the defense.
He's involved in so.
You think Mike Tomlin's involved with the offense heavily? I doubt it.
No.
Hey,
Well, you're wrong. But what about Bill Belichick?
when I was
He's a defensive
when
guy.
I was in
Bill Belichick's
Indianapolis.
Go ahead,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead, go ahead, DQ.
Yeah.
When I was in Indianapolis, I walked into a situation of a winning culture, right? And it was all new to me. And not Eric Mangini, but Chuck Pagano was the head coach.
Yeah.
And what I realized quickly, let's say we fast forward to the season. What I realized quickly, he wasn't the offensive coordinator. He wasn't the defensive coordinator.
He the
But he
coach.
spent time in meetings, walking from room to room, talking to guys. Are
That's
we
what head
comfortable with
coaches
the
do.
team? And he was he worked both rooms, and I realized
Better.
he empowered his offensive coordinator.
CEO,
He
that's what
empowered
you're
the
supposed to
defensive
do.
coordinator,
Yes.
and to
Mayor.
me, he was able to focus on the smaller things, like
Can't be on that. Can't be down in the weeds.
Man.
how do we
just
know
like
Stefanski's not doing
calls
that?
We
in
can
real
watch.
time.
We see.
Bull, I hope he is, and I'm
We
sure
don't know that
he
he's
is
not
involved
doing
in the
that.
defense.
You know.
But here's my ultimate point: as the CEO, as the head coach, as the mayor, if you spend all of your time over here,
Something gonna suffer.
then this
Right.
sheep is going to go wild. They're going to
Okay,
leave
well, the defense
flock.
played great last year, so
That's last year.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I
the
think
second half of the year they did. I would
I
love
think
to
you
know
guys are
and we won't.
criticizing him for something that most coaches
I'm
do.
not being overly critical of Stefanski. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm with you and I'm with
Yeah.
DeQuell. I think we have the right guy. I
Yeah.
think that his infrastructure needs corrected. I think he needs to be the guy. And you know what I thought? And I can't prove this because they would never tell us. But I thought the turnaround in the defense last year, just from the outside, I was assuming that Stefanski's getting more involved in the defense. Because it was everybody last year after week 8, everybody was fire Joe Woods, get rid of him. We're
Also,
awful.
maybe he's doing that now too. I don't know.
Well, but did the results look like they did the second half of the season? Maybe he thought, okay, I've got that ship right. Now I'm going to go back and put all my energy into the offense. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
head coaches get fired for bad defense too.
Yes.
So if you want to ignore the defense, go
Right.
ahead, but do it at your
Right.
own peril.
But because
And when a head coach walks into your room, you know right now, I need to play better because now the attention is on us. That's all it takes.
But
the
the
head
club
coach
don't-
to routinely go.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Don't you think Kevin Stefanski's probably done that at some point in these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, but I don't think now he needs to do it more. Whatever to Jay's point,
Yeah.
whatever his infrastructure was before, obviously he's calling the plays right now. So it takes up a chunk of your time. Throughout the course of the week, you're explaining the new game plan Wednesday up until Sunday. So you don't have time to go, doing meetings when the defense is meeting. You don't have time to work the room. Now you need to figure out a way. Maybe it may not be this year because you're so heavily involved with the offense. He's going to have to show up and delegate some of those calls, some of that responsibility. That way, to Jay's point, he doesn't get fired. Because listen, if your team doesn't play well, regardless of whether your offense is playing well or your defense is playing poorly, you can get fired regardless if you're not winning
Happens
games.
all the time.
You have to change.
I worked for 10 years in corporate America in management. I managed 12 to 30 people, give or take what they are, right? And I'll tell you what, when you have those quarterly reviews, you sit in front of them directors, you're accountable for revenue, attendance, promotions, demotions, production. They're going to tell you, I can sit here and say, well, I got 8 of my people. They're in the top 50 in the company.
Yeah.
They can say, that's great, Garrett, but what about these 4 right here? What's your action plan for these 4? Have you met with them? Did you sit down
But
with
you
them?
guys are saying all these things as if you're assuming he's not doing that.
Here's the-
I think that doesn't
he-
make
he-
sense.
The
I don't think he
assumption
has
is
enough
made
time to
because
do it.
right, and DeQuell just hit it. The assumption is made because we know what time it takes to come up with the offense, install the offense, drill the offense in all week. If he's spending 80% of his time on the offense,
Again,
He's cheating the defense.
I would seriously doubt that he's spending more time on the offense than any other head coach or than most other head coaches are spending with their side of the ball.
Why would you say that?
Because all the young coaches call
Mikey
the plays.
has a stat.
They
What's
just
your
all
stat,
do that.
Mike?
There's a few that stand out to me. Bull, maybe Mike Shanahan, because he has a really good not Mike Shanahan,
Kyle.
his son.
Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers, because DeMeco Ryans is so good. He can spend most of his time working in the offensive, working with the offensive team.
Yeah.
So, like, Bull, every day when you're the signal, there's no way a head coach would say, hey, offensive coordinator, you implement the game plan. I don't have to talk in front of the team every day, and I'll just have a call sheet, and I'll just blindly, call a game. It doesn't work like that. You have to spend all your time with that group.
Right.
I don't see it unless you have full autonomy in the defensive coordinator, that he's a leader. He can motivate these guys. Right now, these guys need a different voice. They need to know if the pressure is on them. They need to be motivated, because right now we're treading on thin ice right now. If these guys don't start playing well, what are we going to hear?
Mike, what did you find?
You need to go, and then ultimately it's going to fall on Kevin Stefanski's shoulders. What are you going to do at that point? That's my biggest question.
What's up, Mike?
So I did a little research, and I should have done this earlier this week or last week, really, when we were talking about it. How many head coaches do you think call plays on offense?
I would say it's fewer than 10.
Anyone else have another guess real quick?
I don't know how many head coaches are
how
actually.
many-
I'm going to say 6.
It doesn't matter how many of the total. It matters how many of the offensive coaches call the plays.
Well, I'm saying how many head coaches call their own offensive plays?
Just call it, Mike. What is it?
how
Probably
many?
less
Just
than
say it.
10.
Tell us.
Let's say
13.
10.
13.
Out of how many offensive coaches?
Well, there's
Well, it's
there's
32 NFL head
Well,
coaches
32
and
teams.
13 of
But
them
not
call
all
plays.
32 are offensive guys.
No, I'm just
No,
saying
of course
13
not.
of the
Mike
32
Tomlin
call
calls the
plays.
defense, doesn't he?
Yes, but I'm just saying,
But
of
Mike-
the 32 head coaches, how many
You
call
can't
offensive
say
plays?
13 of 32 when they're not all defensive guys.
No, Mike
They're
Tomlin
not all
doesn't call the
offensive guys.
defense.
So
No, Mike
obviously,
Tomlin does not call the defense. He's
No,
a defensive-minded,
no.
nor did Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was a
Right.
defensive-minded head coach. Tony Dungy was – I covered him for 4 years
Mike,
before he got
yeah.
fired. I watched how he operated.
Yeah.
Tony knew that his defensive coordinator was the defensive specialist. Even though Tony was the mastermind behind Cover 2 and did all these great things as a defensive coordinator, at the head
what I'm
coaching level,
saying
he
to you,
used
Jay,
to tell the media all the
what
time,
Tony
I'm also
Dungy did,
coaching the
what Tony
offense.
Dungy did is irrelevant. The young coaches are calling their plays.
They're also
That's what
going
I'm telling
for it
you.
all the time on
Mike,
fourth down.
how many of the you got to look up how many. It's 13 out of 32 is a meaningless stat. It's 13 out of how many of those coaches come from offensive backgrounds. That's what we need to know.
I will look up the defensive side of things, but
So
I just think
here's-
it's
so
worth
here's-
noting
here's-
that
we can name
a
it.
third of the NFL's head coaches are calling their own
Here's
plays.
the
Now,
contradiction.
added the defensive ones in, so
Here's
probably
the-
half the NFL coaches are
Probably more than half of the offensive
But watch
coaches.
this. But the way football works is this.
You're not going to have a defensive
You
coach
got to
calling
think
out
about
few
this.
plays.
Kevin
Let's see if
Stefanski
those
played.
teams are
Kevin
good at all.
Stefanski played defense in college. Now he's an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that happens a lot, by
He's
the
been
way.
an offensive coach for a decade.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
But what I'm saying to you,
Yeah.
Boo, is don't you think that those people that cover defenses for a living know what the offense is running? They have offensive
Okay,
minds too.
well, then let me ask you this. What do
better.
you guys want? Do you want him to stop calling plays?
Yeah,
Why? He's
no,
doing a great
here,
job.
Since you asked the question,
We need to get a better
I'm
But at the peril of our defense
I'm
stinking.
gonna give you the answer. That you ask what we want. This is what I want.
Yeah.
I want you to be the CEO of the team.
Yeah.
I want you to
Right.
trust your people. Right. And if you
What
don't
does that
have-
mean, though?
listen,
Don't talk in generalities.
let me
Say
tell-
what you really mean.
it's
He
in-
is the
here,
CEO
let me
of
tell
the
you- let me
team,
tell you something.
and he
Here,
gets blamed
here.
for the defense
I'm gonna
struggling.
give it to you.
When he was calling
should.
plays last
He
year
should.
and the defense
Here.
was playing well, nobody said he had to be the
Here, you
CEO
want
of
me
the
to talk
team.
to you?
Go ahead. Go
talk to
ahead.
me? All right,
There were
so
people
here's
saying
the
he
story.
did.
The CEO of the team
Yeah.
is the person that organizes everything. I don't need you to be
But he
down.
is doing that.
Here you go. You gonna let me
All right, go
finish?
ahead.
All
Yeah, well, I got the answer to your question, by the way.
So you,
For
as the CEO, hold on, Mike. As the CEO, hold on, Mike.
Yeah.
And the CEO, you
Yeah.
cannot be down in the weeds in one single room. You got to be across the board. You do. You have to trust your people and empower them. And if you find out that one of your people can't do the job, they gotta go.
To your point,
they
Brad,
have
let me
to
ask
go.
you this, Bull. What's
Yeah.
more important, offense or defense?
Offense.
See, that's
Well,
the problem.
That
That's
is the problem. That is
That's the problem.
The
It's
correct
obvious. That's
answer
the
is
problem.
the correct answer is
It's
both.
obvious.
They're equally
No,
They're
offense
equally
is more
important.
important in this NFL.
So if you're number 1 in offense but number
Yeah.
32 in defense, how's that going to
You're
play
more
out?
likely going to be a better team as number 1 on offense and number 32 on defense than you will be 32 on defense or one on defense and 32
You ever
on
heard-
offense.
Well, you say what to that?
Defense win championships.
No,
Yeah, I don't
not
agree with that.
anymore.
No,
I agree with
Defense
that.
does
I'm a
not win
defensive guy.
championships.
So defense travels. Defense can play in any
Yep.
weather.
Defense wins
You know,
championships.
rain,
Defense
weather affects
wins
offense.
championships.
Defense don't win
for
championships
years,
anymore.
Peyton
Yes, it
Manning
does. You just saw Aaron
was great
Donald win one.
indoors.
Aaron Donald
You get him
won.
outdoors.
Just
he
did
one
couldn't-
play.
Oh, he did one
No,
play.
but in time historically, and I know the game has changed.
Not recently.
But historically, and I don't think
wins
anybody's going to
championships.
argue with this, defense wins
Not
championships.
anymore.
Defense-
There's
No.
a reason that they
Defense
say
wins
that.
championships.
Mike, give us the number. Give us the number.
4 NFL coaches call their own defensive plays. Mike Tomlin does not call his own.
How many?
No, I knew Mike didn't.
So that's 17. That's more than half the league.
And by the way, I think it's tricky because I know there are some head coaches that, because they have veto power, you might say that they call their own plays. Like Andy Reid, if he wants, and they're down at the goal
Andy
line.
Reid does call the plays.
Andy Reid can easily
Andy
overrule
Reid calls
anything
the
he
Andy
plays.
Reid,
wants.
the article I just read says Andy Reid calls 75% of the
Of course
plays.
he calls the plays.
He doesn't call every play ball.
Here's the
Maybe
thing.
Belichick
Out of
Stefanski
those
doesn't call every
offensive
play.
coordinators,
And the
how many
don't know
teams
that.
are actually
Is he
winning
counted in the
teams?
13?
The Quill.
Belichick, he's one of the 4 defensive coaches.
No. Is he one of the 13
Andy Reid,
that you
yes.
counted as calling?
Yes.
Hey,
Because here's what I consider calling plays. You're calling everything.
Well, how
That's
do you
your
know?
job.
Right,
That's your
same.
job.
Andy Reid calls the
DeQuell,
plays.
am I wrong?
Stefanski calls the plays.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I
DeQuell?
agree with you, Jay. I agree with you, Jay.
The Quill,
And out of
explain to the group why defense travels and wins championships. Please tell them why.
but here's the thing: the game when you're playing for years, Peyton Manning, right? I'll give you that example. Indoors, he was awesome. When he had to travel to go to New England and play outdoors, that ball is different to catch and throw. And guess what? The game shrinks, and it makes it an easier game for a defense.
Slows down,
and
too.
listen, pass rush travels, really great run defense travels. I get it. The league is set up to pass the ball down the field.
Yeah,
I
it sells-
get it.
it sells
Patrick
TVs.
Mahomes, we've become enamored with that, but I'm gonna always stick to a top 10 defense. And
Even
if
when
you
Brady
have
won the last one in Tampa Bay,
Right.
the defense
Without
was great.
Tom Brady, the Patriots have
Right,
0
defense is great.
championships. 0.
Wait, what?
Patriots have 0 championships without Tom Brady. 0.
Oh my God, DeQuell, please educate
Who
the
would-
man. Early
I
on,
wish I was in studio right now.
that's insane.
If they didn't have Tom Brady, they would have won a championship without Tom Brady.
Look at their first couple of championships
Yeah,
with Tom
yeah.
Brady. Brady was just a guy. He was
No,
just
he
a guy.
wasn't.
Go look
Right.
at his
In the
numbers.
rookie
Yes, he
year.
was. Yes, he was.
DeQuell, it was Bill Belichick's defense that was keeping them in game after game after game. Their defense was fantastic.
Bull, you can name more guys defensively on those teams or those early championships than you can
Yeah.
offensively.
You can.
I mean, that should tell you.
But
That
it's the
should
court-
answer
you-
your question right there.
I saw
DeQuell, most of the teams that have won championships in the last 10, 15 years have won with great core. You can't win without a great quarterback anymore.
No, I agree.
You
I don't
can't.
disagree with that's fair. I
That's
agree
part
with
of
that.
the formula, but you damn well better have a great defense.
but
I
too.
think you don't have to have a great defense.
But hold on.
Nobody has a great defense. There is no great
I
defense
saw the
anymore.
greatest team offensively on the face of the earth, and Tom Brady and Randy Moss. And I watched the Giants
They didn't
come
win
down.
it.
I
Oh
watched
my God, they lost one game the whole year.
It's
G.
the-
Come on, but they were in the
McNuggets,
Super Bowl.
please.
I
look
watched
up-
the Giants lock them down.
They didn't lock
with
them
three-
down. Come on, they didn't lock
Really?
them down.
They
McNuggets,
didn't win that
please
game.
They
look
won
up
on they
number
won on
one
a freak
offense.
play.
These dudes was getting 50 touchdowns.
I hear you, but they lost one game the whole year. That's hardly a bad
How many
example.
times has the number one offense won a Super Bowl? McNuggets, look that up.
I'm looking it up, and we're going to get into
The
headlines
comparisons
next.
from years ago and now are different. Yes, defense used to win championships, not anymore.
When the Bucks when they won 2 years ago with Tom Brady, that defense was absolutely
Yeah, but if
spectacular.
they didn't have Tom Brady, they wouldn't have won.
Yes, you're
And
right.
when
The
Patrick
year before,
Mahomes
that
won
same
his
team sucked with that
Super Bowl.
defense. They
Go
sucked
ahead.
with Jameis Winston.
You're right, DeQuell. That Chiefs
When
defense.
Patrick Mahomes won his Super Bowl, his defense played lights out.
That's right. You need
DeQuell,
a
can't
Bull.
just discount it.
Are they in the Super Bowl without Mahomes?
Oh no!
No,
You need a
you're
quarterback.
proving my
but
point.
he doesn't
and
win it
Bull's
without
point.
What?
great
You're
play of that
proving my
defense.
point. I said what's more important. You said offense, and the
Yes.
right answer is
It's
both.
You got
The right answer
you
is
gotta have
both.
you gotta have all
All
of it.
these.
The quarterback is the most important thing.
How'd Deshaun Watson do? Great quarterback. How'd he do?
Facts.
Okay.
What? He went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years.
How'd he do in the playoffs?
Wait, Jay, I have a stat, and we're going to move to headlines.
Yeah.
This stat puts this in perfect context. There have been 7 times in Super Bowl history where the number one offense has played the number one defense. In those 7 games, the defense is 6-1.
Absolutely.
It's an irrelevant stat. I'm taught how many
But
times in
it's
the last 10
important. That
years?
was a fact.
Football
No. DeQuell, I'm saying it's changed in the
is
last
He's never going to
decade.
admit that it's not that he's not right. So let's just move on.
That's
'Cause you're
ridiculous.
never-
I admit when I'm wrong all the time,
Bull,
Jay.
that
I
is
said you guys unclog your freaking ears. I've said it's changed
begging
in the
you to
last
do that.
decade.
We're begging you
I
to do
said,
that. So
who
what-
cares what happened 30
What
years
we're
ago?
saying, Bull, is that
What's
7
more
times-
important, a great defense or a great quarterback? What's more important right now in the NFL?
A great defense.
Both.
Any
I'm
both,
taking
Get
both.
off the
right.
fence. You got to have one.
No, you don't.
You think
No,
First,
you
taking a
can't.
quarterback.
First of all, here's the
Go ahead.
problem. First,
But
it's
history
obvious
proves
it's
you
the
wrong.
quarterback.
I thought we
It's
was on the
obvious it's the
headline.
quarterback.
History proves you wrong.
The defense is it's hard, and it's harder to keep. First of all, there are no great defenses. Who's got a great defense? Nobody.
Great is relative. Great would be the number 1 ranked defense. And 7 times in NFL history, the best offense has played the best
All
defense.
right, you guys are not
and
listening.
the best defense won 6 times.
I'm saying I'm not talking about history.
I get-
Defense used to matter more than it does now.
No, I agree with
That's
that.
all I'm saying.
I understand that that it's changed. I
Yeah.
understand that the passing is different. I understand the rules are different. But in football, there are fundamentals that never change. It's about if you catch the ball, can I tackle you? Can I not have penalties? Can I execute? Do I get turnovers? Those are universal
Okay,
laws.
sure, G. But right now, would you rather have Patrick Mahomes and an average defense, or a great defense and a middle of the road quarterback?
But what I'm saying to you is
I'm asking you one or the other. If you had to choose.
I would take a quarterback.
Of course.
But here's the thing: if you have the quarterback with nothing else, you're not going to win either.
I agree. You can't have nothing else.
Won't win with an average defense and the best quarterback.
Yes, you will.
You won't.
The Chiefs didn't have a great quarterback that year. They played well in the Super
Wait a
Bowl.
minute,
They
the
didn't have a
Chiefs
great
The
defense.
Chiefs defense when Mahomes won the Super
They
Bowl,
played
great.
well in that Super Bowl.
they played well
very
in the playoffs.
But they
In the
weren't a
playoffs.
great defense the whole year. They weren't ranked near the top.
But
You have-
they
You only have to hit
Go
your
ahead,
stride
Nicole.
at the right time.
Go ahead.
only gotta-
right.
Well, getting as frustrated
all
as
it
we
takes
are.
is once you get into the postseason,
Yes.
how well do you play? You look at the great Peyton Manning
Bucs did the
teams
same
that
thing.
won. What happened during that playoff run, ultimately winning them a Super Bowl? The defense showed up. I can't pick one or the other. You can't, listen, I'll say this. Well, in the last probably 10 years, the rules have changed so much so the
Yes.
offense can have so much of an advantage.
Exactly.
And you still can't equate to the number one offense just automatically, you're going to win a Super Bowl if you have a number one offense. It just doesn't work because
No, but
you need both. I don't know
my
how else
point
to-
is, DeQuell, that when you had those great defensive teams, like you think about going way
Yeah.
back to the '85
Right.
Bears, those great Giant teams, those great Raven teams, right? You're not. I don't think you can have because of the salary cap and the rules. I don't think you're going to have defenses like that ever again. The best defenses in the NFL now are not anywhere close to what those defenses were, and can't make as big a factor. That's how I see it. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, I agree with that point, but let's be fair.
Yeah.
The rules have changed so much. You can't hit guys across the middle.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
The passing, the roughing the passer
But-
calls. They're making it almost impossible. They're making it
Yes.
very difficult for you to
So
come out
scoring
and
is
be
down
a
across the
dominant,
field.
Jay, take it to
inferior
headlines.
defense. So I get what you're saying. It's just this conversation could take 3 days.
I don't even know how
to
we
get
got
to the
down this
bottom.
road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Let's just do headlines. Nobody's going to change their
Before
mind.
we go,
proved that.
before we
Let's just do
move on,
headlines.
does anybody want Stefanski? You guys want Stefanski to give up the play calling?
I don't care what's going on with the offense. He needs to fix the defense.
Here's
That's
what I
all care
want.
about.
He
Yeah.
needs to be
Well,
less involved with the offense and way more involved with the defense. That's what I want.
All right, but we've proven that more than half the head coaches call plays. That's a fact.
All right,
No,
so
13 of 32.
17 of 32 call plays.
No,
Yeah, but
that's
we
not
don't
true.
know.
Call plays either on offense or defense. Yes, that's what Mike said. 17.
All right.
Well, yeah, offense or defense. We were talking about that. We're talking about offense. 13 of the 32 coaches call their own
And
plays.
here's the thing. I don't care.
That's
Next
ridiculous
topic.
comparison.
Headline.
It's a fact.
Headline.
It's a
Gotta get to
fact.
headlines.
More than half the teams call their
Go to
plays.
headlines.
That's
we
a
got to
fact.
get to headlines.
Go to headlines.
DeQuell
That's a
was
fact.
gracious enough to send us a headline today.
I'm
DeQuell,
dropping bars with my headline.
we tweaked it up a
Oh,
little
good.
bit to fit, but let's take DeQuell's headline. I like where he went with this. DeQuell, if you'd like to read it.
Browns deflate Patriot spirit. I love it. Browns break Belichick curse.
I
had
see
to-
what you did with deflate.
Yeah. For people
That's
who
slick,
know,
dude.
I had
That's
to get some get back.
That's a big syringe
No,
he got.
that's really good.
That's a big needle.
I miss
That-
Tom.
Hey,
That's
yeah.
That's
I
because the
like
great
what you
Bill
guys
Belichick's
did
a
last
mediocre coach without Tom. There you go.
And if
He
you
is,
guys
he's
remember,
500.
DeQuell did catch the Deflategate football, so even
That's
a little more
right,
relevant.
yeah.
He should have
here.
got that big bag. for
That's
that.
very appropriate.
When you
between
caught
being
it, DeQuell, did you say immediately something's wrong with this football?
No, I had no idea.
You
I had
can't
no
tell.
idea. It was the equipment guys. They probably had more idea than I did.
Yeah.
It was so freaking cold. Listen. I just wanted the ball to put it in front of my mantle, and so I can sell it when he goes in the Hall of Fame for $1 million.
Yeah.
Where is it? Is it there in the room with you?
No, I don't have it.
He never got it.
I do not have it.
Because the NFL took it.
The NFL investigated it. They investigated everyone around the circumstance except for me. They never called me, never reached out to my agents.
You should call back, tell him, get your ball back. Get my ball back.
Brad, believe me, I've tried. I've had private investigators. I've had my agents use their resources. Nothing.
Goodell's
no one told me anything.
going to have a family member sell it on
and the
eBay.
Quail, when you call back, when the Quail called back on the mobile, they were like, "Hello, hello, I can't hear you. A static."
Hey, dog, you're breaking up, dog. You're
Hey, that's
breaking
a
up.
great
Breaking up over here.
Very good. Very
Well,
good.
thanks, man. We will see you in Cleveland tomorrow.
See you, DeQuell.
All righty.
All right, bro.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
brother. I hope he's right.